Chapter 5, Scene 2. Derek stood next to a pillar with his arms folded, watching Emerald with the eccentric man. He had vacated his dinner spot just to see her dance. Her long emerald green waves flowed against her body as she moved with her dance partner. Jealousy filled him as he soaked in the visual image of the silvery man dancing close to Emerald. They smiled and exchanged words. What were they talking about? Derek wondered. Derek began to curse himself for not asking Emerald to dance with him first. She is loved within the kingdom. I can't expect to take up all of her time at the party, he thought. I must ask her to dance before it gets late and she decides to retire. After eyeing every movement between Emerald and the man, Derek heard a scuffle of boots next to him. Out of the corner of his eye, Derek saw a deep jade tunic embellished with silver and glittering emeralds. Damaris. Derek turned quickly to find the king standing in his company, taking a sip of wine. The king didn't bother to glance at him, but instead focused on the source of his attention, Emerald. Your Majesty, Derek said, immediately bowing. I apologize for not requesting an audience with you when I arrived, but I was told that you were preoccupied, as the evening engagement had already begun. Damaris continued to gaze at the dance floor, not giving Derek the attention he had hoped for. His long, silky blonde hair softly rippled as he drank his wine, and his pale green eyes continued to stare at his daughter. Prince Derek, what brings you to Arcadia after all these years? He paused, maintaining a smug look on his face. Wait, there is no need to answer. I presume you are here to woo my daughter, Damaris said indifferently. Derek was a bit taken aback by the king's statement, trying to think of how to best respond. He kept formulating sentences in his head, but the words weren't coming out of his mouth. Well, am I correct? Indeed, Your Majesty, Derek said, fumbling with his words. If it had been up to me, I would have come sooner to court your daughter, 7 years sooner. I am sure your father had good intentions by you not doing so, given what happened between us, the king said. He abruptly turned to Derek, focusing on him with his striking green eyes. Did you know the friendship between me and your father goes all the way back to our childhood? There was no movement from Damaris's body. Not even the fabric of his cape swayed. Yes, Your Majesty. That is why I came in hopes that you would perhaps think of me as a favorable suitor for your daughter, Derek answered. I cannot let Emerald go so easily, Damaris replied. With his body still frozen, he gave a menacing stare, then lifted his wineglass to his lips, taking a long drink. Name your price, Derek said. Damaris laughed. It was a laugh that made Derek uncomfortable, as if he were the brunt of a joke. Did I say something amusing? Yes, quite so. I have known your father for a long time. For me to ask for anything, as you stated, he would want something in return, much more than a bride for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Derek frowned, looking down at his own glass of wine, nodding. Yes, you are correct. My father doesn't give his generosity so freely. You see, I like ruling. Emerald is worth far more than a normal princess dowry, and if your father would be able to afford such a price, he would insist that Arcadia be his for how much he would pay for my daughter. It will not be easy to win Damaris over, even if Emerald were smitten, he recalled his father saying to him before he left. Damaris is a hard man. Always has been, always will be. You must make more friends within the court to persuade the king, as he has a personal vendetta against York. Derek took a deep breath, thinking of Emerald. Emboldened by the king's pushback, Derek took another step closer, lowering his voice. Your Majesty, forgive me for being so forward, but I thought I could bring much favor to you in your kingdom. I have heard that your kingdom is in need of more financial help, much more than it needed 7 years ago. Some would say that Arcadia is on the brink of financial ruin. The Kingdom of York is willing to level out all debts that yours has racked up, restoring the crown's credit. In return, I would only ask for Princess Emerald's hand in marriage. My father would ask that you continue to govern Arcadia under alliance between Arcadia and York. Derek took a drink of his wine and pressed on. I'd say that is more than a fair offer, considering your kingdom is about to collapse, and on a colossal scale like no other city kingdom has before. Of course, he would grant me comforts during my last days of living, the king said with a mocking tone. Sire, with your kingdom being on the brink of financial devastation, would it not be better to restore it and live out your days in glory, rather than shame? Derek asked. You would you would still be able to rule Arcadia. The answer is no. You cannot marry my daughter. You would ruin a whole kingdom just to spite my family? Indeed I would. Damaris's words stung him. Through the coldness on his face hurt more. Go back to York and marry another princess. You cannot afford Emerald. Whatever offer you make me, I highly doubt it would be accepted. Arcadia is mine. Derek's heart sank. He couldn't leave without Emerald. He'd known his trip would be difficult, but not to this extent. Damn Damaris. Derek's eyes flared up, but he kept his pose. He bowed, then stated firmly, That is not an option, Your Majesty. I would do anything for Emerald. Anything. Anything, you say? The only way I would agree to your marriage is that if the Kingdom of York graciously restores Arcadia's debt, Arcadia remains mine, and I remain king. Your father would have absolutely no ties, nor any control of Arcadia, and there would be no alliance. And even then, after you marry my daughter, she stays here in Arcadia, at the palace. Derek stood stunned at the king's mockery. Damaris was insane. You know my father would never agree to that. How badly do you want my daughter? You told me you'd do anything for her. Damaris's sharp eyes flickered back. He is serious. No wonder every suitor left Arcadia empty-handed. No kingdom would agree to those terms. Damaris gave him a smile, knowing exactly what Derek was thinking. He took another drink of his wine. I give you 1 week. If you cannot make an acceptable offer within that time, you will leave and never return to Arcadia ever again. Derek's stomach dropped. 1 week, he thought. He had better make every day count while he was in Arcadia. He bowed to Damaris, his eyes lowered. Yes, Your Majesty. I will be in contact day and night with my kingdom to prepare an offer, one that will hopefully be pleasing to you. Good. I look forward to the most favorable negotiations that will satisfy Arcadia, the king said. He didn't look at Derek. Instead, he walked off into the crowd, his guards trailing behind him. Derek leaned in against the pillar, finishing his wine. Father will never agree to his demands, he thought. I must speak to the others in the council as soon as I can. Maybe they can reason with Damaris. The server came back, filling his empty glass. He watched Emerald dance. Tonight is about Emerald. Tomorrow I will start with the council. Finishing his wine in haste, he set his goblet down on a nearby table, then boldly walked out to the dance floor.